Okay, so when we're finding second derivative, you do the same thing, right? You find the first derivative, then you find the derivative of that. That's the same idea. But it's a little different when we actually get to do it. So let me write it down. So we have the original is y squared equals x squared plus 2x, right? Find first derivative. Okay, so the first derivative is going to be 2y dy dx equals 2x plus 2. And then we isolate dy dx, right?
Yeah.
So that means we're going to divide by 2y. So we get dy over dx, the first derivative. So on top I have a binomial, and on bottom I have a monomial. All three could be divided by 2. So I'm just going to divide them by 2. So essentially what I'm doing is 2 over 2y, and then just making those 1. Okay, so it's going to be x plus 1 over y. That's the first derivative. Okay. To find the second derivative, we find the derivative of that guy. All right, that's the first derivative. So this is, let me write this down. First derivative, right? So to find the second derivative, what are we going to need to do? Quotient rule, right? All right, so let's set up the quotient rule. So low, which is y, times the derivative of the high. The derivative of the high is just 1, so 1y, minus the high, x plus 1, times the derivative of the low. What's the derivative of the low? 1 dy dx, right? Or just dy dx. You could just put dy over dx. That works too. Over the low squared. Okay? Here's the thing though. With the first derivative, our next step was to isolate dy dx, right? We can't do that because this is the second derivative. And the second derivative isn't dy or dx. The second derivative is d squared y over dx squared. So what do? We plug in the first derivative where you see dy dx. That's the trick. Okay? So our first derivative was this guy here. I'm going to plug that in for dy dx. Substitute that guy. Because we don't want to isolate dy dx because that's the first derivative. Okay? So that's going to look like this. So it'll be 1y minus x plus 1 times, and then that's where I plug in x plus 1 over y. Over y squared. Okay? And then simplify as far as you can. Simplify as far as you can. So inside the brackets, it's x plus 1 over y, right? So you don't have to multiply those. Just so when I simplify, this is what I would do. You get y on bottom, and then I have x plus 1 times x plus 1. It's not what? You could write it like that too. You could write x plus 1 squared. Okay? Here's the thing though. They don't like fractions on top of a fraction. And I still have a fraction, right? It's y minus that guy. So all I got to do is put those two guys together. So we get y squared, and then we have y minus this guy. You could x plus 1 squared, you could write it like that. So then I have to subtract those two. So I need a common denominator. The common denominator is 1y. So I got to multiply both of these by 1. Or sorry, both of them by y. So you get y squared minus y over x plus 1 squared over y. So then you get y squared minus x plus 1 squared over y squared. Again, we stopped doing calculus a while ago. So it's just getting rid of the fraction over a fraction. One last step. So I have a fraction divided by a fraction. So multiply by the reciprocal. So the first one stays. Multiply by the reciprocal of y squared, which is 1 over y squared. Okay? So then we get y squared minus x plus 1 squared. And on the bottom, we get y cubed. Now you don't have fraction over a fraction. That's as far as you need to go. So I have a question here. Let me box this first. Can I do this? Can I get rid of this? Can I do that? Get rid of that, make that a 1? No, why not? You're right, why not?
The top one is 2 terms.
Yeah, 2 terms, it's a binomial. Y squared is not y squared, it's y squared minus.
What?
Okay, so it's not y squared, it's part of a bigger term, right? It's y squared minus x plus 1 squared. So it's not solo, it's part of a, yeah, okay? So that's why you can't cancel them out like that. So that's why we are done. Actually, the top is difference of squares too, if you want to get that. Top is difference of squares, but it doesn't, it's not going to affect anything. Let's try that. Let's try. Since that one point pretty fast, let's try this one. Find me the first derivative. Find me the first derivative of this guy. So the first derivative that I got, when it's simplified, was x squared over y.
Yes. That's what I got.
Okay, because the -6 divided by -6 make +1. Okay, so then to find the derivative of that, we're going to use the quotient rule. Okay, so it says low squared, so low times the derivative of the high minus the high times the derivative of the low. So remember, we do a little substitution with the first derivative and the second derivative. We're going to rewrite it, but instead of dy dx, we're going to put in what the first derivative is. So I have 2xy minus x squared times x squared over y. And this is x squared over 1. Okay, that's that. The calculus is done. So now all we got to do is just make it presentable so we don't have fractions over fractions. So we get 2xy minus, so here I'm going to have x to the fourth over y, over y squared. Okay, so the top, I have to combine. Because the top is it still has a fraction. So remember, this is over 1. So 2xy over 1 minus x to the fourth over y. That's the top, and this is y squared. Common denominator is going to be y again. So now it's 2xy squared over y minus x4y. They're not like terms, so you can't subtract them, but we get 2xy squared minus x4 over y squared. Multiplied by the reciprocal. The top stays the same, change multiplication, change division to multiplication, flip y squared.
Hershey's don't know he's not going to know what she's doing. Okay. She can see it's different than before.
That's as far as we can go. So that is the second derivative. So that's the only thing, the substitution part. That's the key with second derivatives. It's just once you find the first derivative, find the second derivative, and then in the dy dx, plug in what the first derivative was, and then simplify. Okay? All right, so the rest of the time, I'm going to let you guys work on the practice. I think there's like 9 questions on there. The answer key is on Google Classroom. If you want me to go over any of those, I would be happy to. If you have a big question, little question,